Hey guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to Going In Raw, the only wrestling podcast you need to be listening to, streaming live here at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, and available anywhere you are able to get podcasts. Larson, wonderful Raw. What did you think of it?
That was pretty good.
Decent enough?
That was a good job, Enforcer. Thank you. Everybody welcome the Enforcer, Stevie Bradley. Steve's out on vacation for a couple days. So Stevie was kind enough generous enough to sit in, discuss Raw with me, subbing for Steve. So Enforcer, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And also, even though this isn't the real Steve, I do have my bowling ring here. It's not a 300. I'm not as cool as Steve, but I got my 299.
Well,
so Steve, congrats. I'm glad you went to that safety deposit box, man.
I'm not.
That's where I had mine too.
I'm not gonna delve too much into it, but I feel like you probably earned that one. Anyways, we got some new patrons. So thank you to Japheth Logan Wyatt. Thank you, Steve Randall. Thank you, Daniel 41149512. Thank you very much, Alex, Willie Power, and then James Darnell's left pinky toe. We got some creative names here today. Michael
I really
Halloran.
liked that Daniel. I'm sorry, that Daniel one. Either there are that many Daniels on Patreon, or that number means something to him.
Yeah, because that's what 411,495,127. That's a lot. That'd be a lot of Daniels. If
that's
that
a
were
lot
the
of
case
Daniels.
on Patreon. As you mentioned earlier, Enforcer, it was a pretty fun Raw tonight. It's still hard to get past most weeks.
Yeah.
The fact that Raw is 3 hours long, that's still a lot of Raw to watch, but nonetheless, it was a well-paced show, really entertaining. Tell me your thoughts.
I will be very honest with you, Larson, especially since the pandemic, I have really been paring back my viewings of Raw. I've sort of relied on you and that one guy in the morning who would put up Raw in 15 minutes and then it'd be gone in an hour. He'd just sort of splice everything together, or clips. And I really rely on you for this. So this is the first time in a while I actually sat down, paid attention to a whole episode of Raw, and I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if this is how it's been the last couple years, but from what I'm hearing last couple weeks, I'm not sure if that's how it is. I heard from some people saying, no, I actually kind of lucked out on a halfway decent, well-paced episode. So I'm looking forward to going through with this.
It's been interesting since Bruce Pritchard took over from Paul Heyman, because if nothing else, actually, last Friday's SmackDown, which was a massive turd, more or less has been an outlier of late. Because while neither Raw or SmackDown, neither of them approach must-watch television at any point anymore, by and large, they're well-paced, reasonably entertaining shows that tell some decent stories. Again, nothing that you got to tune into every week, but there's a lot of little nuances that are interesting.
There were some parts here where I was really into how much MVP was in this from the beginning, and then also with him and Lashley, and then the backstage, because I didn't watch the stuff from last week, and I'm really liking what MVP is there, and I like the fact that I don't know how he has the belt on him. I don't know if Lashley won it or they took it from Apollo. How did that happen?
He just made himself a belt.
Oh, okay, so it's just a replica. Okay, I get you, but it looks cool though. I mean, it's fitting on him. Normally I go man, okay, somehow by hook or by crook he got it, but it looks good on him.
Yeah.
And I really like where they're going there with that Cedric putting that wedge in there. Just a lot of good beats there. When I really didn't need to see Ric Flair out there. I felt bad as I was seeing him out there.
It's 3 weeks in a row they've had him on. It doesn't seem like it's necessary.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. Everything they've been doing with MVP since he's come back has been exceptional. Everything, especially since they've paired him up with Lashley, it's been so darn good. They've allowed Lashley to open up a new level of intensity that we haven't seen since he come back from WWE. MVP is spectacular on the mic. He knows how to advance a story while talking.
Right.
And as you mentioned, the wedges he's been trying to drive between Cedric and Ricochet, trying to recruit Apollo Crews. It's all been like just really masterfully done stuff. MVP is an absolute joy to watch every week. He's been doing some great stuff.
That pastel lavender suit, just chef's kiss everywhere, man. That looked beautiful. That was exquisite.
That was exquisite. So let's talk about this. This is going to be in the thumbnail, I think. There's a lot being made of this eye for an eye match. WWE was very clear after the announcement that someone is going to lose an eye on Sunday. I think it was Meltzer in the newsletter said that they might be utilizing some CG, some movie magic to show an eyeball pulled from the head after the shocking announcement last week by Ray that that's the stipulation he wanted. And then we got some good reactions of selling the stipulation and how shocking it was.
Yeah.
We really got Seth talking about it tonight, where he said, okay, at first I thought Ray meant that metaphorically. Eye for an eye. He wanted revenge. Come to find out, he is serious. He means that literally. And so there's some moving pieces in play here in terms of who wins the match and who loses an eye. Of course, Ray, free agent. He can go wherever he wants now. Same time, though, he seems to be looking out for Dominic's career prospects just as much as his own, and whether that means Dominic's chances are better succeeding in the WWE system or not. Where they want to go with this from a storyline perspective. The idea of Seth trying to be the Monday Night Messiah, walking around with an eye patch, that makes him look kind of tough, I'll be honest. But at the same time, I'm not sure. So, Enforcer, since I'm not sure if we'll have you on for the official predictions video, who's losing an eye on Sunday?
Can I say first off, I'd like to say how I would want to see the eyeball actually taken out. And I do actually want to see an eyeball out. I mean, like any given Sunday style, I want to see the eyeball.
Good reference.
Okay. I want to see it done with a grapefruit spoon. I want to see it in there. Just all the sound effects that you had.
Yeah.
And Ray's losing that, and I really think if he stays, he's going to somehow do some Daredevil thing where he's just sort of heightened senses now, and but he's going to have that mask and it's going to be blacked out, but he's not going to be able to see. But then, what's his kid's name? Walter. He's going to basically be, guiding him around and stuff. But in the ring, he's magic still. That's where I'd like to see it go.
See, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be cool. I mean, I guess my number one thought is they'll have Ray lose. He'll lose an eye, and that would be writing him off TV so he can go wherever he wants to go. Or if he just wants to take a break, wait till this pandemic thing calms down, then make a decision about what his career prospects are looking like. There's so much up in the air. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you think happens if Rey Mysterio does lose both eyes and then they try and bring him back if Dominic is in WWE? They're going to want to bring that hook back. Does he just have two eye patches over his head? Like, how the hell do they do that?
I don't know.
Right? I mean, they always want to keep that card in the back of their pocket.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Rey Mysterio out here. Hey, his son's here. Let's get a quick, a legacy pop. I
mean, here's the thing. I don't know if they want to bring it back into sort of religious context. He could just be spiritually healed. Maybe he loses an eye. Yeah. And then he's gone for a while. He goes up to Seth and he essentially repents for all the wrong he has done against the greater good, against Seth. And Seth lays his hand on him. It heals him. And then he gets up. He's like, I can see. I can see.
Does he blow on him and then COVID's gone? Your eye, you can see. Oh, all right. There we go. Thank you. I see here he'll have glass eyes, white brownies saying here in chat. Sam L. Bronkowitz, transplant, George saying a cybernetic eye. All wonderful ideas.
It's like a Minority Report where Tom Cruise gets the fake eyes put in. Something like that, maybe.
Exactly. That's and then by that point we're already into that cybernetics happening.
Yeah.
So it'll be topical.
Stuff. Yeah, Steve will be all about that. He'll be glowing reviews about that particular storyline because he'll want to be Ray at that point.
Yeah, of course. He'll be living forever. Over your dead body. Be like, Larson, join me.
No, I'd be like, I'm cool, man.
I don't want to live forever, man.
Nah. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what pans out on Sunday. This is kind of the match where, like, I feel pretty sure that Seth is probably going to pick up that W. That being said,
yeah,
this has potential to be either maybe pretty cool or, like, horribly cheesy. And a lot depends on how bad the CG is.
Yeah.
Which, WWE has a budget for decent CG. However, given circumstances, given circumstances, I guess they're gonna go find some kid or an intern in production that's just learning After Effects, and it's just gonna be like a poorly textured eye.
Some newly minted kid from class of 2020 Full Sail graphics department.
There you go.
Will be given this. This will be whether he can sink or swim, or she can sink or swim.
This is their thesis project.
Absolutely.
To see if they graduate in this term, or if they have to stay on for another year and probably pay an exorbitant amount of money to go to school there. All right, I guess we can just get right into it. Kicking things off, we had the VIP lounge. MVP introduces his guest. That is Dolph Ziggler. He like sings his praises, says he's like the greatest guy. He's got a huge heart.
Says he's awesome.
He says he's like the most awesome dude. He went through the trouble, probably at great expense to himself, to take in Drew and made him the man he is today, WWE champion and whatnot. And he says Drew has the temerity to not even thank him. So
Can't even thank him.
So out comes Dolph. He admires the new U.S. title, which MVP had made for himself, and said he wants to get something like that when he wins the Extreme Rules. He says maybe get one of those spinning things on it. So he alluded to the return of the spinner title. Yay or nay?
Sure.
Oh, that's a hard no for me, man.
No, I mean, spinner versus what is already there. No spinner. Even the one before Cena. I mean, if Cena ever just wants to come back just to like sell a few belts, that's the only guy who needs a spinner.
I wonder where the spinner belt ranks on the top 10 list of top selling belts from WWE Shop. Just be curious to find out how that sells. That probably costs an arm and a leg too.
It probably does, but it's probably down with the toy version of like the Divas belt in terms of sales at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So Dolph says, I know how to turn Drew back to the guy who got fired. Again, he goes on, without Dolph, Drew doesn't beat Brock. Without him, he'd be an unemployed loser looking for a handout. And MVP says, Drew won't thank Dolph, but I will. And says, hey, thank you. Thank you for your selflessness. And then Dolph thanks MVP for thanking him. And says, is that so hard? And says that very lack of thankfulness from Drew is why he's going to lose the title. Of course, this brings Drew down to the ring. He kicks over that velvet rope, that keeps the VIP lounge from everybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, you figure the plexiglass up along there would do it, but just those velvet ropes just sitting there.
It's the symbolism,
somehow
man.
Keep everybody.
It's the symbolism. So Drew comes down the ring. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt." MVP tells him he's got no class. Drew says he's not going to tear up the set or Claymore MVP like he's done in the past. This is all about Dolph. Drew says Dolph uses people. He said he used Mandy Rose, he used Big E, and he used me. They were never friends. I was your muscle. I did all the dirty work. But then he does put over Dolph, says he's talented. Dolph starts to interrupt him, and then Drew interrupts his interruption and says, Extreme Rules, I'm going to hurt you. You're going to beg me to stop. I'm going to torture you. I'm going to maim you. I'm going to make you regret the day you picked up the phone to bring Drew to Raw this Sunday. It's all on you. And then Drew says, well, I don't even want to wait till Sunday. I want to fight now. I want some action now. And Dolph starts to talk. And that sucker punch again, man. That sucker punch
came
great.
out of nowhere. It looked solid. It was just solid and beautiful right there, man.
And then Drew kind of lunges towards MVP. MVP flinches.
Flinches, gives him the old flinch. And if I could just circle back, I think MVP said to Drew, it was like, you know how many thanks you've given to this man? 0.0. Thank you, Mr. Blutarski. Fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to go through life.
Oh, the Animal House reference.
All the Animal House fans out there for you.
So after that, we had a Angel Garza, Andrade, Zelena, Vega interview. The show started out pretty talky.
Yeah.
And so Charlie, she's interviewing him. It seems like it's pretty obvious she really just wants to talk to Angel Garza. Nonetheless, she has to go about her business and says, how do you get on the same page before your match against the Viking Raiders? And Zelena Vega, before Angel Garza can say anything, she's like, I'll do the talking here. And she says, why you keep on pushing this false narrative? They can't get along. You don't talk about that fact we already beat the Viking Raiders. They teamed with Orton to beat the Big Show last week. The Street Profits are running scared from him. And he says, also, no man here can measure up to Garza or Andrade. And then she continues, she just starts talking a bunch of trash about Charlie. And Garza kind of interrupts to flirt with her a little bit.
And she told Vega, tranquila. That was one part that I heard there. Say, hey, tranquila on her.
And then Andrade says, if Garza has my back, I'll have his. And together we'll win the tag titles. And in walks the Viking Raiders. They say for over a year, they've been the most dominant team on Raw. But Garza and Andrade, they've dishonored the division by attacking their friends, the Street Profits. So tonight, they'll run through them. And then Hanson, wow, he takes the rose from Garza, and he gives that to Charlie.
He took the lead right there, man. He's like, thank you very much. I'm not asleep at the wheel. I'm going to give this beautiful lady a rose.
So we got this elimination tag match, and it was not a de facto, or it wasn't officially a number one contender match, but it was kind of de facto one. And it was a situation wherever Garza and Andrade were on the same page, they worked really well together. Whenever they didn't work on the same page, things didn't go that great.
And then also the times when they would try and sort of get back to them being on pages, like when they try and get fist bumps, that's when they would get in trouble, when they try and mend the fences.
Exactly, all the symbolism, if you will, of trying to be a unified team. It's like especially Garza, he felt like he had to go through the motions. He wanted validation from Andrade, and then Andrade would do things not looking for validation, but he would actually do things that would keep Garza out of harm's way. A couple times he pulled him out of the way of moves. One of them led to him being pinned. So in the end, it all came down to Garza and Hanson. Hanson goes for a seated senton on Garza. Garza catches them, drops him the powerbomb, deep roll up to get the win. So again, not official number one contenders for tag titles, more or less. They're making themselves a really strong case to get a title shot whenever the Street Profits return.
Absolutely. You know that's going to be the thing. You're going to say, hey, we beat you guys in an elimination match, no less. You know, we didn't pin you once. We pinned you guys twice, each of you collectively. So you've got no right to being called the number one contender.
It seems pretty final in that regard. So after the match, Garza's leaning against the announce table celebrating. Andrade walks up. Garza extends the fist.
Yep.
And then Andrade, if he just about did this. Like, he was so hesitant to kind of give the fist bump.
Yeah. He's just like,
well, all right. Yeah.
I guess if you say so, yeah. I figured that's how you were before with Too Sweets. You'd just be someone be like, but then you wouldn't give in. You'd be like, nah, but a handshake.
Well, it was, for a stretch, it was that. Like, I felt like I had to wrestle with it internally. And then once it got to the point where it was basically my gimmick, whatever internal struggle that existed was gone. I just had to say, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah, it was already made up for you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's like
it's much like now. Like, I'm on here now, and like anywhere I go, I'm gonna have to wear a jersey now. Even though honestly I don't. But
it's your gimmick now. If you go out in public,
my gimmick now.
If you go out in public and someone recognizes you, say, "Hey, you're the enforcer."
That's right.
Where's your jersey at?
Where's your jersey? That's what it's gonna be like. Yeah.
I'm really
sure it's with you. Like when you're out and about, you're like, "Hey, Larson, where's Steve?" Yeah, I do hear that. The hip all the time.
Sometimes I do hear that. Yeah, it's like, hey, so where's Steve at? I don't know.
Yeah, dude, like I'm here trying to get away from him.
Here's what you don't understand. I've been sitting with him several hours a day. The rest of the day, I try not to talk to him.
No, right?
I can't. We actually text each other all day long. We can't get away from each other. So next we had a Ruby Riot interview. Sarah doing the interview. She's about to throw us to some video. Instead, the Iconic Center, they'll say, we'll take care of that. I guess the video is probably going to be of Ruby losing. So they shoo Sarah away. They talk about how they have both beaten Ruby Riot in the past few weeks, and that tonight they're both going to beat him. And then Ruby, though, interrupts and says, yeah, no, you're both going to get punched in the face to keep running your mouth. Right. And the Iconics say, well, this might end up being a handicap match since Ruby has no friends. In walks Bianca Belair. Yes.
Yes. I'm so glad to see her and that charisma she has.
Hell yeah, man.
Not only in that interview, but once she got tagged in, I mean, if we the match wasn't much of a match. It was basically just, look how awesome Bianca Belair is, and Ruby Riot's got some friends now.
Yeah,
and or a friend. And yeah, you just forget, like, when she gets tagged in, and this she just has this air of just athleticism and just believability, and just I forget she's been gone for a while, to where when I saw her back, I just felt so happy to see her, and I was like, thank you, because it was, she could do all she could do in NXT, and I'm glad that now maybe a proper push, and also later on someone else showed up that I was so happy to see come back as well.
Yeah, it was great to see Bianca. She picked up the win. She pinned Billie Kay after a KOD. And as you mentioned, yeah, it was all about Ruby getting some fast offense and being isolated for a stretch, getting the tag to Bianca clearing the ring, and then getting the win for her team. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of Belair on Raw, because she's fantastic.
Absolutely. Do you think they continue as a little oddball tag team, or is this sort of just to get you refamiliar with Bianca Belair again?
If this is what's going to get Bianca on TV for the short term, then I'm all about it, because Ruby Riot's great, Bianca's great. There's not a whole lot of legit tag teams. Tag teams. Yeah. You got Alexa and Nikki on SmackDown. You got Sasha and Bayley as well, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you got
Iconics,
Asuka and Kairi Sane. But you need more teams in the division if you're going to have actually real competitive women's tag division. So having Ruby and Bianca together for the time being, they can put on some great matches and maybe establish themselves, get a title shot, and who knows? They get themselves over, put on some good matches. They may have a chance to win those titles at some point.
WWE seems to enjoy just throwing two singles competitors into a tag, whether it's male or female, and when they have no idea what to do with them in the short term.
Yep.
There's just so many. Just Cesaro and Sheamus just jumps to mind. What are we gonna? They were beating each other up before. Throw them in a tag team. It just seems to be what you do.
I feel
for
like
a
it's
while.
happened at least 3 or 4 times with Cesaro alone.
I know, man, and really, that's a guy that, man, put the rocket boosters to that man. I mean, every time I see a match of his, it's something different.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's just, man, if I could be jacked like that fool, man.
Oh, heck
that's
yeah,
where
man.
I want to be.
I start doing the CrossFit, but I'm so scared to do CrossFit, man. I feel like I just go out there and just throw up everywhere, just being exhausted.
Yeah, I would blow myself out in the first 5 minutes, and I'm just
Totally.
like,
Exactly.
and I'd be like, no, I got it, and then I'm just sort of cowered to the door and hope no one sees me.
Exactly. I feel like I have to get to a certain level of shape before I even consider that.
That's how I always felt like at the gym, and I know it's not the case, but really I'd always be self-conscious at the gym and go like, man, I actually have to look buff before I ever step into the gym. But I realized nobody gives a damn what you're doing in the gym. Everyone's in their own damn head, and
everybody's got their music or their podcast in. They're just doing their own thing.
There's no one looking at you, Larson.
No. Ain't much to see anyways if they were. Next up, we got R-Truth. He's backstage. He runs into Richard.
Yes, Richard.
Cedric Alexander. And so he says, hey, Richard, I'm glad you won MVP of Raw. Ricochet goes, hold on, no. I'm wrestling Lashley with MVP on Raw. And Truth says to him, yeah, that's what I said. And so Cedric speaks up, asks Truth, hey, shouldn't you be worried about wrestling Randy Orton tonight? And Truth goes, no, Ric Flair challenged me. I'm wrestling Ric Flair. Cedric and Ricochet go, no, Flair challenged you on behalf of Randy Orton. And Truth is, all right. And he just walks off, just realizes.
Yeah, just the honesty just of what is about to happen just waved right over him. It was just like, oh man, I'm gonna fight the legend killer here. I'm gonna fight Orton. And who happens to be there? Tozawa, and he's asking him for some advice. Hopefully in 5 to 10 minutes, if you could teach me how to be a black belt, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. And then Tozawa just goes, no. Tries to roll him up. Truth kicks out. Akira calls in his ninjas, and then Cedric and Ricochet roll in. They got Truth's back. And then Truth's like, hold on, I don't want anybody else to get involved in this. Tozawa, you and me in the ring, 24/7 title match right now. That match is about to happen. Actually, Truth is delivering a promo. He says, I came to the ring by myself. Akira, of course, he came with 3 of his guys. Out comes Shayna Baszler, something we haven't seen, I think, since May.
Yeah. I think since Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, Money in the Bank, I think it's the last time we saw her.
Money in the Bank.
And then she proceeds to take out all of Tozawa's ninjas. Tozawa just goes, I'm good. He leaves.
Good here. Yep.
Shayna turns to Truth. R-Truth says, I'll let myself out. Tosses the mic to her. He leaves. She says, I've been very patient. I've allowed everyone to have their fun, but she's done. All these weak-minded women's champions are running around fooling themselves that they're in control, that everything that Shayna has done is a distant memory, but she's there to shatter that illusion by hitting with reality, and she is that reality. It's good for her to return. It's good for her to make a very forceful statement that she's not going to just kind of sit in the sidelines or just kind of, exist around the periphery of the title scene. She wants to go right to the top.
The one thing about Shayna Baszler, as soon as you see her and you see her talking, believability. And when you see her and saying she's over this BS, over these people that are, as you said it here, weak-minded women's champs running around fooling themselves that think they're in control, she could put a stamp, especially now with Charlotte being out for a little bit, Becky being gone till, at least till the kids,
who knows when,
who knows when, Rousey, all of that. You build her up, man, and just keep feeding her. Feeding her everybody, and man, yeah, and also that shirt that I liked. It had the spade in the inside. It said "Crank, Rip, and Tear"
on
the inside spade. That looked phenomenal. And normally I don't like WWE shirts because they feel all itchy and they're all hard.
Yeah,
that's a shirt that I would actually be interested in because that one just looks like tough enough, and that whole thing, just crank, rip, and tear. That's what she does.
That's pretty cool. There was a couple shirts she had in NXT that were pretty decent too.
Yeah, and that whole thing when she does the whole spade thing. It's perfect. It's just that's what it is right there, man. It's awesome.
No, she knows
easy branding, easy marketing.
Definitely, she knows her packaging. She knows her character through and through, and that's why she's so dang convincing.
Absolutely.
Next we had Buddy and Seth backstage. Buddy's looking all concerned or forlorn or whatever. Seth asks him what's troubling him, and Buddy's like, "Are you? So eye for an eye really means eye for an eye? You're really gonna go out there and try to blind each other?" And Seth says, "Nothing of significance happens without sacrifice. Remember, Ray asked for this." Tells him to just focus on his match against Alistair. He's got a message to deliver. So he goes out to the ring. I assume we're about to get Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens because that was advertised.
Right.
He has another very long promo, which is what Seth does these days. But it's him coming to grips with the idea that this isn't just another fight for him. This has potential to be his livelihood. If he loses an eye, what does that mean for his career? What does that mean for his mission as Monday Night Messiah? So is him all coming to grips with it, but he comes back around and puts the onus on Ray. He says, I've never tried to hurt anybody. I had an opportunity presented to me where I had to sacrifice Ray for the greater good. And still, Ray, you've resisted me every step of the way. And now he's in this barbaric match that the likes of which WWE has never seen before. So he says in the end, it's going to be a horror show. Ray has forced his hands, and he'll be forced to gouge out Ray's eyes until he is blind. And he really tries to humanize it at this point, saying you'll never see Dom get married. You're never going to see your wife's face again. You're never going to see another sunrise or sunset. Extreme Rules will be the end for Rey Mysterio. In many ways, it'll be a new beginning for Monday Night Raw. Out comes Kevin Owens. So I'm still expecting their match between them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, you're going to cut the match short, all right, or the promo short. He's going to get upset. We're going to go.
We're going to have the thing where Kevin Owens punches him, go to commercial, come back, match starts.
Exactly. Totally match is already underway. Yep.
Exactly. So Owens says, and I came up with a stipulation idea. I thought Ray'd pick like last man standing or a cage match. And they went for an eye match. And he says, as disturbing as a concept as that match is, what's even more disturbing is that Seth, you're such a scumbag. You forced a legend, a genuinely nice guy. You pushed him so far over the edge, someone that everyone looks up to, that you drove to the point where he wants to take your eye out. And Owen says, hey, I know the feeling. I was willing to end my own career to shut you up. And he says, but I have just what you need. He pulls something out of his pocket. He says something to my good friend Jean-Pierre Lafitte, who, of course, is PCO.
Yep. PCO now, yeah, absolutely.
Gave to me. So back then, he had an eye patch. He said, here, it's an eye patch. So that upsets Seth. He calls out Buddy. And while Buddy's making his way down the ring, Alistair intercepts him. They brawl. Then we go to commercial.
Then
and then
we go to commercial.
We do have a match, but it's Alistair and Buddy Murphy.
Yeah, and then the other two are just lingering about outside. They're seconds on the outside there, you know.
And Alistair and Buddy can just, regardless, they put on fun matches. So while this was short, the basic story was Alistair would get some offense in. Buddy was attacking Alistair's leg repeatedly. There's this great bit where Buddy's standing on the second rope on the outside. Alistair's on the inside. Alistair's trying to suplex him back in the ring. There's some jockeying for position. At a certain point, Buddy fights him off. And Alistair responds with a black mass, and then Buddy tumbles over the... This is beautiful.
Just like dead weight, just boom.
Beautiful.
What caught me was the old leg slap, like, oh! And then you just see him flap over, you know, just like, oh, my Lord.
I don't know if anybody smacks the leg as hard on a knee as Alistair does on his, like, V-trigger.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a gunshot going off every time he does, even a huge arena. It's loud.
It is quite a thing to behold, even like if you see it in a packed arena and you just hear that, that just meat slapping meat.
It's something else, man.
It's amazing. It caught my attention because I was writing my own Steve notes here, and then all of a sudden I just hear "Konk." I'm like, what just happened? This man looks like he's dead. Yeah. And that's basically how it was. I mean, Seth had to come in and revive him because Alistair was going for the pin, and then Seth got interfered and yanked him off. Match is thrown out, and then KO gets involved, and then I think we go to commercial again, right?
Well, then Ray and Walter come out.
Ray and Walter come out, and then Seth. That's one thing I was thinking is because they have this plexiglass up here now, you have no place to escape. Normally you would run into the crowd if they were there or somewhere else, but now you're basically like in a hockey rink now. The only way to get out is in the benches, and the benches now are filled with some enforcers looking to pound you out.
You got that right. So now we finally get Owens versus Seth. You got ringside, you got Ray, you got Dominic, Walter, you got Alistair, who's basically Kevin Owens' enforcer during this match. Yeah. And then you got Buddy Murphy kind of lingering out there. He's still trying to come to.
He's just got cobwebs going. I really thought because I thought that Buddy, because he went in there, tried to wake him up to get some reinforcements for him when Dominic and Ray came out, and I really thought, okay, he's gonna somehow work his way into this, but he just seemed to just be like, dead in the corner, just sort of like lights out.
Lights out.
Yeah, and the crew around there really took advantage of the situation. That's basically what the whole match was Seth had nowhere to go, nowhere to hide.
Exactly. So it was basically a lumberjack match in that it was Alistair, Ray, and Dominic surrounding the ring, but every time Seth would try to roll out or even get on the apron, or in several instances, even when he had the advantage, they would see to it that Kevin Owens had a chance. Anytime Seth would roll out of the ring, they'd corner him. So he felt like the best place for safety was against Kevin Owens, rather than have to deal with Ray, Dominic, and Alistair ringside. Especially for Alistair. Right. He was in Seth's face the entire time. Yeah,
there was one time where Seth took advantage in the middle of the match and then throws KO out ringside, and then Seth was going to follow him, and then Alistair real quick stepped up to him, and he's like, this doesn't involve you, get out of here. And then KO took a great opportunity to use this confusion to I think he parted, like Dominic was there next to him, and he sort of parted his way between them to give Seth a beautiful shot to the mouth and continue on with his rally.
Yeah, it was a fun match. These two guys are pros and great ring technicians, so this was a ton of fun, even with all the interference. It didn't feel, it was overbooked, but it felt motivated enough that I didn't mind it so much.
Yeah, I would have been upset if this was overbooked in the match that they're going to have at Extreme Rules. I was okay with this being so much of a cluster to lead up to that match, just to enhance it a little more, give it a little more backstory.
Definitely. Well, it helps too because Kevin Owens got the win. So what happens is I think Seth is setting up for a stomp. He goes for Owens' eyes. So Owens falls off the top rope, and then Aleister gets on the apron to distract Seth. So Seth charges him. Aleister gets down. Then, like on the opposite side of the ring, Dominic does the same, and then Ray, and then all three of them. And this allows Kevin Owens an opportunity to come to enough. He gets up, hits a stunner on Seth to get the win. I like to mention here in the notes that Kevin Owens was selling the eyes all through the stunner and the pin. He was really selling that.
Absolutely, yeah. That just made... And it just made the fact that, he was able to get that finisher and just getting that pin on KO, even with the on Seth with the jacked up eye, really meant something. That he sold it to that point, which is phenomenal because it's all about it's eye for an eye, right?
You got that right. So this, the finish here gives Seth an L, so the math works out. Ray more or less stands tall because he dropped the promo. He said to Seth, "Hey, you tried to end my career. You terrorized my family. You've crossed every line you could cross. Now it's my turn. Extreme Rules. I'm going to make a sacrifice of my own. Seth, you're walking into their match with 2 eyes, and you're going to be carried out with just 1." So the writing's on the wall for Ray to lose this match, but you never know. The stand tall math isn't 100%. I think it's like 60-something% it follows through.
Right, absolutely. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but I'd maybe some hay on it.
There you go. Somewhere like 5 confidence points, depending if it's like a 10-match card. Somewhere in the middle.
One thing I do like is that normally you don't see that much of this viciousness from Rey Mysterio. Usually he's the likable guy, and then much like how Kevin Owens said, like, you drove this man to a point where he wants to gouge your eyeball out, like legit. And that's nice if they turn him like a little bit like a tweener here as he goes out the door. That would be something nice to see, just because you don't see it all that much. You see Rey Mysterio, he's just smiley happy, even in on Nitro and Thunder back in the day. He was just, hey everybody, how's everything going?
I like that they're sorry, go ahead.
Edge. No, it just looks like good to have him an edge for him.
Exactly. I like how they're with Ray now, and especially with Drew ever since he kind of had his face turned. They're allowing their faces to have a bit of an edge to them,
which is needed. Absolutely,
it is. You don't, it's hard to root for someone who's a constant pushover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that white meat baby face has a role in this business, but at some point, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's you again, man. It's Mr. Squeaky Clean. I don't need that.
It's just boring. Too much of it's boring. And it's not reflective of what real life is like.
Yeah, at some point you could be the nicest guy in the world or gal in the world, and someone's going to push your buttons to the point where you're going to reach that point, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I got there, but that's kind of where Ray is like, dude, you took my eye, I'm about to take yours.
You got that right.
And
yeah. So next we got Ric Flair backstage. Why is he there? Why is
you know what was the saddest part was I'm so glad you wrote these notes here, because I was so hard to hear him because he was so soft spoken when he was talking to Big Show, and I was like, this isn't that woo, you let me tell you something show, and it was just sort of just show, I've known you forever, you're good. It was just like, what's going on here, dude? Anyone else could have done this for Big Show.
It's almost like Flair knew he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, right.
So here's my hope, because they kind of alluded. This whole bit was about Ric Flair, more or less telling Big Show, you don't need to take on Orton. You got no chance. Your career, your legacy, it's locked in. You're a surefire Hall of Famer. The only thing you're risking here is injury by taking on this match with Orton. Don't worry about it. Go back to L.A., make that money doing that Netflix sitcom, and just be done with it. That was pretty much it. So, and then later on, Orton has a promo where he talks about how Edge and Christian and Show were his friends, but Flair is pretty much his family. But he said even then, I really hope that Flair doesn't do anything to get in the way of me doing what I want to do. So while I don't want to see Ric Flair take a punt, because I don't think he should be taking any sort of bump in the ring, I'm kind of thinking that next week on Raw, Ric Flair's probably going to take a punt.
Ric Flair's going to take a punt. That's what I think.
And they're going to write him off, and hopefully they won't invite him back anytime soon until this pandemic thing is done with, because Ric Flair's in his 70s. He's had health issues of late.
The man almost
should be out of harm's
died
way.
a couple years ago.
I know.
You know,
Keep him out of harm's way.
And yeah, I really thought we were going to get that punt today, because when he was going to line up a Truth, and then he's like, no, don't do it, and then he lines up, and then he gets in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Then Big Show music hit. I was like, oh, this is where he's about to jack up Rick.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I don't need to see Ric Flair out there anymore. I just feel bad. To see him if anything were to happen to him, man. That's just it. Always good to see him. Just worry if something bad's going to happen.
Exactly.
To him,
and in something resembling normalcy, this would be a welcome addition to the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he and Orton do have history. But at this juncture, given everything that's going on in the world, it just seems to be an unnecessary risk.
And also, Orton's probably the only guy left on the roster other than Triple H that he actually does have some sort of history that makes sense, other than Charlotte. But that's just him basically just being a dad. This is actually running up and down the road having matches with people.
Exactly.
It's about the only guy he's got left is with Orton, and it'd be great to see in a non-pandemic thing the storyline of Orton with Rick. But I just right now, no, I just don't want to see it.
It takes you out of the show.
Exactly. Yeah. I just wonder, it's like, oh, who has he been around? And anyway, I digress. I just feel bad, and hopefully they do write him out.
Yeah, I hope so too, for his own safety. Anyway, so at the conclusion of Flair pitching to Big Show, just pull out of the match, go back to Hollywood, make your money. Show says, all right, I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You are the dirtiest player in the game. I've never seen Orton more dangerous. He may be the best WWE has ever seen, but tonight he faces one of their friends, R-Truth, and he asks Flair, are you willing to sacrifice your friendships so Orton could be the legend killer? And he walks off, and Flair kind of has a pensive, thoughtful look on his face.
And I think he checks his phone again.
Yeah.
That was like,
He's like, well, I don't want to think about these emotions he's making me feel.
No.
What's going on Twitter?
Yeah, what's going on Twitter? Yeah.
So we got a Randy Orton Legend Killer video package, and then Orton promo, and he talks about this is an old adage: you're lucky if you make it out of this industry with a handful of friends. He said he's had a handful. He had Edge, Christian, Big Show, and he has Ric Flair, and he goes individual by individual. He says Edge came back at the Rumble, and once again they could have been rated RKO, but Edge didn't trust Orton, and Orton didn't trust, I think that's what he said, that Randy knew what was best for Edge, which was not to be in a wrestling ring, and so he beat him and sent him home to nurse his tricep injury. He said with Christian, he came running his mouth to defend Edge's honor, which was fine, but he made the mistake of accepting Orton's challenge for one more match, played to his ego, his vanity. Right. Finally, Big Show, they have a history. Show took Orton under his wing and showed him around the locker room when he first showed up, and he said Randy said it baffles him that Show would defend a couple of fractured skulls rather than maintain his relationship with him. Now he says Flair, he's a friend, he's more than that, he's family, which is why it would be a shame if Rick did anything to jeopardize their friendship. And he talks about his match tonight. He says Truth has all his respect, which is why it's going to be a shame when all Truth amounts to is one more chapter in the story of the Legend Killer. Flair walks in, tells Randy it's time. And Orton goes, all right, I'm right behind you. And kind of looks at him as like it's like he saw that interview with Big Show, or that.
Yeah, and he's already sort of doubting, like, ooh, I don't know, did I put did I back the wrong horse here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get R-Truth versus Randy Orton. You mentioned the graphic they had there. There's been
99 reigns of that 24/7 title.
Crazy.
And that R-Truth has over a third of those, which doesn't sound crazy, but when you put the numbers there that were one shy of 100, you think anyone's going to be special to get that 100th reign? Or is it just going to be run-of-the-mill type of stuff?
I don't think they care enough about the 24/7 title, I think, to make it important. Because they could have had the opportunity
enough to make they had cared enough about it to tell you that stat.
It's true. I mean, if they'd had Randy Orton just beat R-Truth and just like, all right, sure, I'll win the title now.
That's what I thought it was gonna. I really thought that's what it was for. And then he mopped the floor with him. But anyway, I'm moving along here.
Flair drops a promo that was kind of meandering. He says, first, I want to congratulate you, Truth, for having the most illustrious career I've seen in a long time. You know, Truth has had a very good career for going on 20-plus years. He's had a phenomenal career.
And a lot of title reigns, evidently.
Yes. Yes. He says to him, but here's the deal. You know, Truth, that Orton loves you just as much as Ric Flair loves you. So Randy's not going to punt you. He's just going to drop you with an RKO.
Yeah.
How about that?
How about that? Yeah, that was great. You good with that? You just down?
How about that?
How about that?
So Randy comes down the ring, and Truth realizes what he's gotten himself involved in. He's like, I just want to talk to Ric Flair before this match starts. So he turns to Rick. Orton tries to attack him from behind. Truth kind of senses it, hits it a few shots, goes for a scissor kick. Orton evades, bang, RKO. He gets the win with a deep pin. And I like you mentioned this here because I didn't notice it, that R-Truth had the belt on for the whole match. Only reason I saw that was at the replay of that deep pin. I'm like, oh, there's the strap right there around his waist as he's just getting folded up like a pup tent. That probably did not feel good.
Probably not,
that
man.
Belt digging into his midsection. So after that, Orton and Flair seem like they're kind of bickering in the ring a little bit.
Yeah. That around this time is when I thought, like, okay, this is when we're going to get that turn. And then, he's just going to just wallop Rick, and then Rick's head's going to get punted off.
Yeah, yeah. And so he walks up to R-Truth, backs up in the corner waiting for a punt. Yeah. And that's when Flair kind of steps in his way. Big Show comes down the ringside. Orton grabs the mic, tells him to stop, or he will kick off Truth's head. He says, Show, I know you're angry at me, but I wasn't even going to punt R-Truth. You know whose name this punt has on it? It's you, Big Show. Challenge you to an unsanctioned match next week. And then Show just yells, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Hits the ring. Orton rolls out. And then there's some trash talk. And then they have to do an interview later on to clarify that Show actually accepted the challenge.
In the most hilarious, stupid way possible. He just like, yeah, I meant it.
Yes, I accept.
Yes. This with crazy eyes.
I know that's his thing. He did it earlier too. Here he's seething and stuff.
I'm like, okay, listen, man. As a big man, myself, nowhere near the size of the Big Show. Ain't no need to get all like, woo, just your presence alone and your calm demeanor will scare enough fools, man.
You got that right. Yeah. Next, we saw Cedric and Ricochet backstage. MVP and Lashley walk up to him. MVP driving that wedge is like, hey, Cedric, you got that thing I sent you. And Ricochet's like, what thing? And Cedric goes, no, don't worry about it. I'm not interested anyways. Sarah rolls in for an interview with MVP because Cedric and Ricochet leave. And she says, what's your game plan for Extreme Rules? He says, I'm not tripping about the U.S. title match. I've already beaten Cruz. And when I win again, we're going to go celebrate in an undisclosed location. Lashley, he's got a match against Ricochet later, adds that Ricochet is going to be nursing injuries or worse tonight. And they leave, and Sarah hears a disturbance or something, I don't know what. Yeah. So she walks back further into the bowels of the Performance Center, and there's Drew just doing something.
Drew's just standing there, just not in catering, not getting any of his beautiful shirts, dress shirts hemmed up, or no. He's just standing there with his belt on just some sort of just rack, sitting there like he just had to tie his shoes and, let me just put my thing here.
Yeah, it was weird. The staging of it was weird.
It's odd.
And so she asks him, how are you preparing for your match against Dolph? We don't know the stipulation. And he goes, yeah, when I said that, I was just being nice to Dolph to kind of give him a chance. But now he's kind of more or less unleashed the psychopath. This is when Dolph jumps him. They brawl for a little bit. Refs and producers, and they break it up. Not a whole lot happened, really.
Yeah, the only cool thing was, I guess, Dolph tried to jump onto Drew. Drew caught him, threw him up onto that ring that was in the background, and then he hit him a couple times. And once again, like you said, the producers and the refs came in, broke it up, right to commercial. Yeah,
pretty much. After that, we got Bob Lashley versus Ricochet. Ricochet tries for some offense early. Lashley no-sells it, trips him up with the apron, throws him around ringside a few times, has the upper hand. For pretty much the entire match, Ricochet got some offense in. He got the Enziguri, standing shooting star. Lashley kicks out at 1. In the end, though, Ricochet is going for the a Benadryller. No, goes like a handspring kick or something. He just handsprings right into a full Nelson, taps out.
Just right into it.
Just
yeah.
right. It was
quick
it's actually
too.
Yeah, the transition was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was no real struggle. It was just tap tap tap, and Lashley sunk it in there tight, man.
Yeah.
And
Cedric runs in, tries to break it up. Instead, he eats. MVP gets in too. He eats the neuralizer, and then Lashley drops Ricochet, puts Cedric in the full Nelson, and then hits him with a full Nelson slam. A really underrated move.
Yeah.
And then MVP gives Ricochet a good talking to.
Yeah.
Hurt
It's
business,
like we're
business
in
is
the
great.
hurt business. Business is great.
That's a great catchphrase, man.
Absolutely, man. I love that. That's why that's on it. Actually, probably one of the first times that I had heard it. That's why I put it in the notes, saying, we're in the hurt business, and as they're walking away, business is great.
I'm trying to think if it was just last week they started saying that. If it's 2 weeks ago, it's a pretty recent development.
Okay, all right. Well, it's resonating with me, man. I
it's
like
good,
that
man.
one.
It's a great catchphrase.
Absolutely.
We mentioned this Big Show interview, or it's simple enough. Do you accept Randy Orton's challenge? Yes, I accept. He walks out.
Away he goes. Away he goes. Off to be back in a week for his match.
I know.
And I also this is circle back here. I like how Randy, when he was telling Big Show he's going to fight him next week, he's like, "You got nothing going on. As far as I can tell, you've got nothing going on. I'll
I missed it.
fight
That's
you next
funny.
week." Yeah.
That's
It
true. I guess
seems
production's not happening anytime soon in Hollywood. I'm
guessing. They said, you've got nothing going on. I'll see you next week.
That's great. Then we get our main event, women's tag title match. Sasha and
enjoyable
Bayley.
main event.
Man. Yeah. Against Asuka and Kyrie. So Sasha and Bayley have a brief promo before the match starts. They want to give their audience a chance to see the greatest. And so Sasha throws their tribute video from SmackDown. We come back. Asuka and Kyrie come to the ring. Sasha and Bayley attack them immediately. This is a really good back and forth. There wasn't really a prolonged stretch where necessarily anybody was isolated. I guess Kyrie was for a bit. There's this great bit where she goes up top. Bayley pulls Asuka off the apron. Sasha kicks Kyrie off the top rope, sends her out of the ring, and then her and Bayley slingshot Kyrie into the plexiglass before we go to commercial. And I just want to read that part because I really legit laughed when you added this to the notes, the 2 minutes for boarding. That cracked me up.
Yes, it's an old hockey term right there.
It is, man. You're staying in your gimmick. I like it.
There was one time, I'm sorry to digress here, but there was one time I was at a Kings game. I was lucky enough to be right up against the glass. And it was a playoff game between the Kings and the Wings. And Ziggy Palfy got his face just shoved right into the plexiglass right in front of me by a Wing, and I could not be any happier because I was the only Wings fan in a sea of Kings fans and watching their best player just get his face just annihilated.
That's funny.
But anyway,
that's great. That's so good. Anyways, any kind of description, at least that I could do of this match would do a disservice beyond just saying go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Great, fast pace. All four of these women operating at a whole other level right now. You can make the case for Orton being the MVP of the first half of 2020, but my vote is solidly behind Asuka. But at this juncture, though, Bayley and Sasha are making a strong case in their own right.
Absolutely.
All four of them are just doing awesome stuff. So the finish sees Kyrie gets a tag in. Sasha rolls up Asuka, but she's not the legal competitor. Kyrie hits her with an axe kick. Asuka kicks her too. Kyrie goes up top, hits the insane elbow. Bayley pulls her off the pin. Kyrie gets back in there, goes back up top, hits a flying forearm, follows with an Alabama slam. This was smooth. So she's going for a sliding forearm. And Sasha catches her and transitions immediately into a bank statement, and she's pulling it back deep.
Yeah.
And Kyrie has to tap. That transition was so smooth. That was fantastic. I did not see that coming at all.
I figured there would be a little bit more going to get to Sasha's finish, but just how slick that was, I was sort of taken aback. Like, whoa, it's already in, and she's tapping, and she's in there deep. I was like, all right, that was well done right there. It was well done.
That was really good. So all told, a pretty fun episode of Raw. Especially considering it's a go-home episode, and those are kind of it's a hit or miss with go-home shows for pay-per-views. We're still got a SmackDown left, so that could still suck. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they have to make up for what they did last week, right? So One would hope.
God,
Absolutely.
it was so bad. It was so bad last week. It was awful.
Yeah, I heard because I had problems with my Fox app. I wasn't able to get the SmackDown going, but then I heard the karaoke was just god awful.
It was short, and it wasn't in front of a crowd. So if it was
that's
long
good
in
at
front
least,
of
right?
fans that would have dumped all over it, it could have been just an absolute train wreck. But to their credit, they kept it short, which is smart. And Jey Uso tried his best to make it not suck horribly.
What could have probably helped that is if you had Xavier Woods, he probably could have helped that with some laughs, or had New Day hosting it. You know?
And then just have it
helped.
turn into a rap battle between Jey Uso and that was a great segment years ago. We want to answer a couple of questions here.
Absolutely. I am, as any good Steve would be, I am on the Patreon right here with these questions.
Cool.
All right. I'm just gonna go right here down the line here, and whatever catches my eye. Hey, if they're going, Dan Barber here, if they're going on a belt redesign spree, how would you redesign the tag team titles?
I mean, they got not all the belts look alike, but there's seemingly a kind of a very specific aesthetic they're kind of working with these days. You look at the Cruiserweight titles, slightly lesser extent the NXT belts, the Intercontinental title, and kind of slightly lesser extent the U.S. title.
Yeah.
It's a lot of very clean lines.
Not very many belts now are round the way that the tag team belts are. The center.
I think just the North American
pieces.
title, really. Oh, I guess the Cruiserweight belt is kind of round, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I forget the Intercontinental is kind of round, but
No,
that's more like
too.
jaggy and like aggressive looking. But I would. Okay, the one for me was like with the one that Demolition had and the Heart Foundation, that style, Legion of Doom. If I could just get that back, I'd be happy with that. Like old is new again, man. Just give me all the old stuff.
Like we talked about before the show started, there's a certain level of nostalgia attached to things from the 80s and 90s, and I think championship belts for me specifically is one of them. Some kind of throwback. Doesn't have to be exact recreation, but it's just something that's inspired by.
Pays an homage to
exactly.
where the lineage of the belt came from.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Night by Night, question of the night, was KO referring to Jean-Pierre Lafitte, PCO's W gimmick, or is he actually medium and friends with the real 1800s Jean-Pierre Lafitte? I'm guessing he meant PCO.
I'm thinking he got that at some estate sale from the 1800s. I'm going to go and say that is the legit artifact. He probably had it appraised at Antiques Roadshow.
There you go. What was the appraised value?
$35.
Oh, okay. So I'm guessing he probably
that's why he felt fine having it out.
He wasn't content with that appraisal. Was willing to give it to Seth.
Absolutely. James Fletcher, out of every released WWE superstar ever, who do you think was most likely to be world champion? I don't want to go ever. How about in like the last batch that we had?
The last batch?
Yeah. So, easy one for me is Rusev. Rusev, you could put the belt on Rusev anytime. It's believable. He's got a character. If you actually watch him on Twitch, the personality that he had doing Rusev Day, that's him.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable. And yeah, I could see him being a world champion any company.
Definitely.
By far.
He's had a knack of getting himself over repeatedly. And yeah, I agree. Rusev is probably tops. I'd also say EC3. The dude, he's not like the most accomplished wrestler, but he's a good wrestler. He's got everything else. That dude can make a lot of money for basically any company.
Absolutely. It's just whether he's given the opportunity to.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Gareth Nicholas, is it sustainable having the women's title and tag team titles in the same storyline? Do the titles need to switch on Sunday for this to pay off? No, they're really focusing the stories of basically the entirety of the women's division right now around Sasha and Bayley. Bayley will win, Sasha won't, and that's going to feed into their story. And then down the line for SummerSlam, Asuka will face somebody else. Maybe it'll be Shayna. Maybe we'll get a one-on-one match between the two of them, which would be fantastic. Two most dominant NXT champions, period, ever. You can make the case for.
Absolutely. I would say that probably once they actually figure out something that they want to do with Shayna and Bianca Belair separately and sort of build them individually into something, that's when you can really strip apart the tag belts from being attached to the main women's title, whether it be SmackDown or Raw. I just think right now they're like trying to consolidate their belts on the people that they can build a storyline and know that they are there. Now that they're getting some pieces back, definitely. I think that's going to start to loosen up.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I definitely think you're right about that.
All right. What Blake Whitehouse, what does creative need to do to Dolph in order to make us take him seriously as a believable challenger for a world title? I really don't. I think he is sadly damaged goods at this point. I don't think there's anything you could do to Dolph.
No, he is who we think he is.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it would almost be if you put the belt on him, just shy of when they put it on Jinder. You'd be like, why is? Okay, so who's the guy they're going to put the belt on because he's a transitional guy?
Yeah. Well, at least Jinder was a new thing. Like we've seen Dolph as world champion before. Granted, the company didn't really, or Vince didn't really get behind him. And push him.
Didn't really get behind him. Yeah.
But at this point, we've seen what Dolph's ceiling is. We know who he is as a character. We know who he is as a performer. I don't know. I'd like to be wrong about this. I don't know how he can necessarily surprise us with anything at this point. I like to be wrong on that, but I think we just know too much of who he is as a performer that it's going to be tough. I say that, but even in the last few years, there's been moments where he has kind of had some really remarkable performances. His retirement match against The Miz at No Mercy a few years back was phenomenal.
That right here is what Hugh Longheavy is saying right here. Like, just make us care. Like, when are you gone?
Yeah, when he was a sole survivor, when Sting showed up at Survivor Series, that was a huge moment for him. And
that was sort of out of the blue too, because the story was about Cena.
Yep.
And show turned on the crew, and then somehow he's still there, and Dolph, but they really didn't do anything with that.
They never really followed through. That's kind of the story of Dolph's career. They don't really follow through on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Lipkin, Mickie James is cleared to come back. I'd like to see her team with Liv in a mentor-mentee partnership.
I just had a Steve moment. What was that question?
Mickie James returns and mentors Liv Morgan.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see it. I just don't really know if it'd do much for either of them.
Yeah, I don't know much. They're sort of okay. You could, but where does it get you? And I don't know. I don't know how much it benefits either one of them at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Rain Trigger, great name by the way. Will this recent push by Kyrie convince her to stay?
I don't know. There's been so many kind of bits of information about what she may do, kind of a lot of it conflicting. So I don't know.
I like this answer here by Nemo, the freak of fisticuffs. Another great name. I think that no country is letting in anybody coming out of America, so that doesn't hurt them either, having her stay. It's like you can't go anywhere anyway. You're going to be quarantined and you can't travel. So
it's true.
Want to resign?
I mean, that is a point. She couldn't really go anywhere. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can say.
I mean, she was in the main event of Raw, but yet she ate the pin.
I know. So. That's kind of been her lot since she's got called to main. She'll be involved, but she's usually the one that eats the pin.
Also, a lot of start and stop too, where she'll get injured or someone will, she'll be put in a bad spot, and then any sort of run she may have had has to be put on hold. And that's something that I know Vince and the hires up hate is, if you constantly get injured, they're not gonna push you.
Yeah, they feel like they can't trust you or something like that.
Can't trust you. Yeah, exactly.
This is a good question from Joe Juarez. How outrageous should the eye gouging scene get? as ridiculous as possible.
Absolutely.
As long as the eyeball looks decent, I want blood squirting out of the eye socket. I want all that graphic.
Yeah.
Just a bloodbath. That's what needs to happen.
Like I said, if you could do a grapefruit spoon and really wedge that son of a bitch in there,
You got that
I'm
right.
all down for that, man.
Yeah.
Sound effects,
Yeah.
you know, as it comes out, boop, you know,
Yep.
one of those. Absolutely.
It's like you're uncorking a champagne bottle.
Exactly. Just pop. Even hell, let's have that. Just have it fly out like
There
some
you go.
cork. Yeah.
There you go.
Britton Wolf here, and I'm wondering this from you as well. Hey, Friendo's been wanting to buy some old wrestling shirts, and it made me think, what's one of the coolest pieces of wrestling memorabilia you guys have?
Wow. We've been sent a lot of stuff. We have one of the old WCW World Heavyweight title replicas. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Let me see. For me, my old roommate used to work for Wizard World, and he would have
cool.
appearances for wrestlers. So I'm looking up here. He got me a signed AJ Styles action figure, signed real big on the back. He actually, lucky enough, was able to spend 20 minutes talking with him because no one went to his meet and greet when he was brand new in WWE the day before he won the title the first time against Dean. And he said there was nobody to see him in Richmond. And my friend, just sat there for half an hour and talked with AJ Styles because nobody came up.
That's
to see
crazy.
him. That's crazy, yeah. So I've got like a CM Punk signed action figure, a Page, Seth Rollins. I got some stuff behind me of one. Remember the 2 Sweet between Finn and AJ at that TLC? I actually have a nice big glossy signed by both of them.
Oh, that's cool.
And I have it at the moment where they're 2 Sweetened.
That's really neat.
And that right there is probably my number one piece, and I want to get some extra stuff done around there. That's my number one collectible.
We've had people send us a lot of really cool stuff. I'm happy you mentioned the CM Punk sign something because someone sent us a copy. It's a 12-inch single, I think, of Cult of Personality, the record. The sleeve is signed by Punk, and then I think the actual record on the label is signed by him too.
Oh, that's so nice.
They sent it to us framed and everything. It's beautiful. It's really cool.
Beautiful, man. You'd be surprised that guys out there and girls, if you have your stuff and if you have an opportunity to get it framed and nice and matted, you have no idea how nice
it looks amazing.
Will look up on your wall.
Church Jackson, Ruby Riot, and Bianca Belair as a tag team make 0 sense on paper but perfect sense on screen. What other odd couple tag teams do you love?
Sheamus and Cesaro, I love that. But for me, Rock and Sock Connection was always something that I loved. It was just The Rock was too cool, and Mick Foley was just a big hot mess, and it worked.
Yeah.
And that for me was top notch, super best right there.
Man, there's so many of them.
It just seems like that's what they do. It's throw them together, and it's just a mismatch and see what
they do all the time, especially if they got a larger push story to push. Like right now, Kenny and Hangman are one of my favorite tag teams because they're so damn entertaining together. The way they've built up Paige has been phenomenal. You know, after what seemed to be a bit of a creative misstep, not doing much with them, they've kind of used that as ammunition for what they're doing with them now, and it's been so good.
Absolutely. I will tell you, like, you know, we'll probably not be here for an AEW review, but AEW is by far my jam. I love AEW. I know that you know, the other Steve, the traditional Steve will sell you NXT, but for me, AEW hands down is where my heart is for where I'm watching every week.
It's week in and week out the most fun wrestling show.
Absolutely.
It's just
absolutely fun. And as much as they meander about JR and Shivani being out there, that's my childhood talking to me, you know, so it always got a little spot in my heart.
Yeah, and they've developed a pretty decent chemistry where it seems like JR isn't grumpy old man as much, or if he is grumpy old man, it's about things that aren't as annoying as about not knowing the names of the moves and stuff like that, you know. They've all settled into a really comfortable dynamic that's worked pretty well for him.
That being said, Jericho, when he finally hangs him up, if he can slide over to the AEW commentary booth, that is where his money will be made when he hangs up his wrestling boots.
You got that right.
Absolutely.
This is a great question for an old film student such as myself. Moses supposes, in kayfabe, do boon mics exist? During the Ruby Riot interview, the Iconics asked Sarah to leave. Without her microphone, we still hear everything.
Do they are they there? Is that basically like it's a part of the show? It's there. Is that what he's saying? Like, you know, they know that it's there, or they know that it's not there, but we're just supposed to pretend that we can hear them with it not being there?
I guess it's like how is audio being picked up if the interviewer with the microphone leaves the scene? Like even on reality shows where there seems to be audio recorded at all times, everybody's wearing a lavalier mic, so everybody is mic'd up individually.
Right.
So you can't use that as a basis of comparison. So
yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, if you've got this, and then all of a sudden that goes away,
you should be able to hear them.
Yeah. You've broken it. You've broken us here, Moses. Yeah, Moses supposes. I'm not sure.
So, you got us there. Nemo, who is the best audience member of WWE? Her vote is for Xia Li. Whenever she's on screen, and a lot of it is facing hard cam, she always seems to be into everything. I'm gonna go with Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah,
when she's there, she's always into it.
Yeah, just always nice to see that nice green and black hair just flopping about, getting all good. But I will tell you now, it's nice to see them with the face masks on in the crowd. And by the way, head on over to friendomarket.com. Get yourself your own Friendo Club face mask. Head on over there. Get yourself one. All right, that's done. I'm done with plugging, okay?
No, I appreciate the plugs.
Checks in the mail, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. Go buy yourself a New Jersey there, Stevie Bradley.
No, don't, man. You're just feeding into the addiction here. No, don't tell me that.
Wolfpack for life. What wrestler should get a talk show, and what should it be called? I'll give Matt Riddle a talk show, maybe.
But what are you going to call it? Mad Attack. No, I ain't gonna.
I'll go back to an old we did a episode of Friendo Club TV. We'll plug that right here about the worst ways to debut Matt Riddle, and knowing that he loves to smoke. I thought eventually make him an anti-drug crusader, and so the show could be
with
called
a Dare shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It's Dare to Say Bro.
Dare to Say Bro. Right on, man. Hell yeah.
That could be the name of the show.
There you
go. We'll end on this one from Thayer Thabata.
Red Wings.
He asked, what is Ivar's secret to getting the ladies to love him?
Oh, man. It's just being as suave as he was just then when you saw him.
Confidence.
Confidence is key. If you don't believe it, you can't expect anyone to that you're wooing to believe it. It's a hard thing to come by, but yeah, that's what you need, some confidence, man.
Yep, it's confidence. That's the key. That's the key.
That's it.
Well,
that's the key.
That is the key. Yep. That'll do it for us tonight. Thank you so much, Enforcer. I really appreciate it. I had an absolute blast. Maybe Steve will stay on vacation a few more days.
Well, I can help. Well, I can help you with tomorrow's news brief if need be. The day after that, I can't help you on Wednesday for that. But
okay,
if you need or you want to, I can help you out.
Cool, man. I'll hit you up tomorrow. Or if
the reviews have been terrible, then no.
If the reviews are anything less than glowing, I'm going to be massively disappointed. You were great. Thank you so much. It
was a pleasure, and I'm honored. There were many others that you could have chose, and friendos right here in chat, and I feel like I'm one of them. I am most likely I am them, other than today. So I'll go back to being that again. I'll just be a line on your screen.
Oh, you're much more than that, Enforcer. Much more. Anyways, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Enforcer, and we'll see you later.